My guest today is Sam Gomez. Sam, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't wait to finish talking to you so I can go outside and enjoy this beautiful weather.
Yeah, yeah,
But in the
absolutely.
meantime, we're going to have a good conversation about, well, first, tell us, what do you do?
So I am the head of AI at a consulting company called Geneca. So we've, a medium consulting company. We do a little bit of everything, but lately, as probably a lot of people out there, we've been getting a lot of projects on the AI space, which obviously has me very, very excited.
I'm hearing a lot about this AI thing, and we're talking off camera about something called agentic AI or
hmm
AI agents. Can you tell me a little about that? Like, define what is an AI agent?
Yeah, so it's an automated process that has a little bit more intelligence than what we traditionally think about when it comes to automation, right? So normally the way that we've done automation in the past, whether it is with some sort of console application or if you're doing RPA, it's a very structured flow that your process follows. You give it all the
RPA is what?
robotic process automation. So
Okay.
it's just another way for automating processes. And then if you give it all the different flows that you can think of, all the different scenarios that you can think of, and that's your process. Agents have a little bit more independence, have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the things that they can do, and it's really up to you to how much do you want how much independence you want to give and how much do you want it to actually accomplish. That's really the other thing is when you hear about assistants versus agents. An assistant, you are the one that is accomplishing a goal, or you are the one that is actually doing the thing. The assistant is just kind of guiding you, whereas an agent, a lot of the time, is just going to be on its own, doing its own thing and taking action based on the information or the initial prompt and whatever tools you provide.
Okay, so assistant is what I might refer to as a chatbot, for example. I'm just asking questions and it's providing answers, but it's doing so in a natural language. Right? I'm interacting it in a language like English,
Yeah,
and I can
yeah,
ask the
correct.
question
So
different ways.
yeah,
But the AI agent does all of that and more.
yes, yeah. So it's up to you. Like I said, if you wanted to access some of your APIs, if you wanted to try to read documents, all of those kind of things, it pretty much does it by itself. It depends on what the scenario, what the use case. You decide what is it that how much you wanted to accomplish by itself.
Give me an example. What's a use case of a good use of AI agents?
I think a lot of a very good case would be if you're dealing with a lot of documents, right? If you're processing PDF documents, if you're trying to make decisions based on the information of those documents, a lot of the times, it's work that humans are doing, but it doesn't really require a lot of the intelligence that we humans have, right? And that's one scenario where if you're processing invoices, for example, if you're processing maybe some other form of documentation and you need to extract information, make some decisions based on that. I would say that would be one of the ideal scenarios where you want an agent to take some action, right? Whether it is create a service ticket maybe somewhere based on that document, or do you want to just enter information in a separate database, things like that. Again, it's something that does not require a lot of processing or a lot of brain power to do.
All right. Let's talk a little about creating agents. Are there tools that are involved? What kind of skills do I need to have?
Yeah, so if you are in the Microsoft space, we know that Microsoft has been
I am.
doing a big push on AI. So you have AI Foundry, which is what Microsoft is trying it to be. It's a big umbrella for all the AI services and all the different tools that are available. So there's the AI Foundry agent service, which allows you to create agents in the AI Foundry portal. So you can just, without any coding, you can go in there, create some simple agents. You can add tools. If you have MCP servers, you can do that. If you want to combine it with Azure Functions, Logic Apps, there's a lot of things that you can do in there. The advantage of doing that is that the AI Foundry site also has the observability. You can look at the threads of your agent, look at everything, all the actions that it did, so that you can update the logic if necessary, update the prompt, update the tools that are available to your agents. So I would definitely recommend that as a great place to start. If you don't have a lot of experience, if you don't really want to get into all the coding, that you just want to play around, that would be the perfect starting point. There's other tools and other frameworks, like if you're already using LangChain, there's LangGraph that also allows you to combine your agents as well. It works as an orchestration layer for your agents if you're looking at maybe combining different agents to in your workflow. That's another option that you have. Like I said, if you're just looking to play around and see what agents is about, I would definitely recommend the AI Foundry.
I heard you infer this, but I didn't hear you say it. If I use Azure AI Foundry's agent service, I don't need to write code, or I just need to write a little bit of code. What kind of skills do I need to bring to that?
Yeah, you can create your agent in AI Foundry, in Azure AI Foundry. You don't really need to code anything. If you're just looking for a simple example, if you're just looking to make yourself familiar with what is an AI agent, what can you do, that's all you need. If you want to get a little bit deeper, there are SDKs that you can use where you can call your agents from code, and
Mhm.
it's still the observability and all the recording of the threads is they're still an AI Foundry, but it gives you that kind of control from a coding perspective. But again, if you just want to get started, Azure AI Foundry is a perfect place to go.
I like that. It sounds like there's a path from building something, a low code solution with AI Foundry, that when it gets more complicated and I want to add to it, I don't need to start from scratch. I can use that as a piece in my new one. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you get started with something simple in the site, and then if you're like, I need a lot of more control, or I need to provide more information to my agent, provide more tools, and I can take that outside and go the coding route.
What are you seeing from your customers? Do they want like a very simple thing, or do they want something that's very, very complex and requires lots of customization?
So we're just exploring one with one customer. They want to automate a more complex flow with different systems integrated into it, different calls to different APIs. So it's a little bit of mix of everything. You have the people that are curious but are a little bit concerned about AI. They don't know about it and they just want to start small. They want to start with maybe just one easy scenario, look at it as dipping their toe before they actually take the deep dive. Whereas others are just like, let's go. We are ready. We want to automate it. We want to use agents to automate our workflow. So it really depends on the organization. Sometimes it also depends how big the organization is. So we're seeing a mix of everything.
Are you hearing from people that are just excited about the technology and think, "Oh, this is a shiny new toy. Let's make everything an AI agent." And is
Yeah.
that appropriate?
Yeah, and I think we have we have that sort of track record in technology. What we are seeing on AI kind of reminds me of what we saw with microservices not that long ago, that everybody was jumping on that, right? Like, they were seeing it at conferences or they were seeing demos and like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this, and now we're seeing stories of people that or organizations that are kind of going back to a monolith or going away from microservices. And I think it's the same
Yeah,
with AI,
nothing
right?
wrong with microservices, but they're not the answer to everything.
Yes, and it's the same with AI, right? Like, you don't want to just jump into it because you want to be doing AI. You want to do it because you have processes that really require that sort of intelligence, that sort of processing power. And I think that's the first thing if organizations are looking into getting into AI is identify a business scenario that would give them a good ROI and then decide if actually AI is the right fit for it. Because a lot of times, right, a simple automation, a traditional automation, if you will, it's enough. But there are certain situations where you do need the power of agents or the power of AI to make decisions or just be a little bit more flexible than a traditional automation process.
What kind of questions should I be asking myself if I want to decide whether or not an agent is correct for the solution?
I think again, the main thing is how complicated is this, right? Do I really need some sort of reasoning behind it, or is this just an if this then do that kind of
Okay.
situation? Then a a a, uh, a traditional approach, I think, is much better suited. If you are concerned with costs, that's another thing that you might want to consider. Obviously, agents used behind are powered by large language models, and we know that those can get pretty expensive depending on the scenario, and it's a little bit more complicated to kind of calculate the cost versus traditionally, this just requires a call to an API, which is usually, it I'm making this many API calls. This is as much as it's going to cost. With agents, again, powered by LLMs, it's a little bit more work that you have to do with that. So those are a couple of the important questions that I think people should be asking, whether before they decide on embarking on this kind of agentic AI journey.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing you say that if more traditional programming methodology will work, then that's simpler, and simpler is almost always better. All things being equal, simpler is better. It's when you hit that wall and you realize you need more than will be offered by that. That's when you want to start going into something like an AI agent. Is that a have I rephrased that in a proper way?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. The other thing too is, again, if you, as we know, LLMs, again, it's a less deterministic approach. So
Right.
if you're concerned about that, and you want a very specific flow, you want the results to be exactly the same every single time. That's another consideration might want to take a look at.
Great point. We're so used to feeding these inputs, and we'll get these outputs every single time.
Hmm.
Artificial intelligence doesn't work that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Where do people go to learn more about this, about creating AI agents?
So again, if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, the Microsoft documentation has a lot of quick starts, a lot of examples that provide you with with a good place to start. If you are again in the AI Foundry ecosystem or tool, there's a Discord server that you can join, and you can ask questions to people that are working on these tools. You can ask the community if you're encountering questions, because that's the other thing too, right? It is new. So another thing you got to consider is that you are kind of trailblazing the path here if you're working on agents, right? So it's not like you can go ask Stack Overflow, you're going to get a ton of questions. So um, those are two resources that I really like. I really like Microsoft documentation because a lot of the times have examples of how to get started. They have examples in different languages, C sharp, JavaScript, Python, depending on what you are using. So that's where I would start.
Okay. Is there anything we haven't covered that you feel is important for people to know?
No, I think that's the other thing that I do want to make an emphasis is that if people want to consider this is that it's all new. It's going to be changing quickly, so they got to make sure that they dedicate the resources to stay on top of all the changes, right? Because if you're using an
Right.
SDK to connect to Foundry, for example, chances are it's going to be changing very, very quickly. You got to make sure that you plan for that, that you have the resources to keep up to date, because there might be breaking changes. Your agents might not be working all of a sudden. So keep that in mind when you're working with these agents. But it's definitely a lot of really cool stuff out there. Very, very exciting to have this kind of power of processing power that is a little bit more flexible, that can free people to actually do things that matter, right? That's the goal of AI. That we want the tedious things, the thing that is the same thing every single time. We want AI to take care of that so we can do more significant work, spend our time actually utilizing our brain power and our intelligence to do more significant things during our day. So, yeah, very,
Absolutely.
very excited.
Let AI free us from the mundane so we can do the cool, fun things. That's
Yes,
my
yes,
dream someday.
yeah. Um, yeah, the other thing to consider is, again, being responsible when you're designing these solutions. We've seen in the past that a lot of horror stories about how AI can go wrong, because at the end of the day, it's trained by us, it's fed by us. So we got to make sure that you're being responsible, that you have safeguards in there for the content that you're processing. Uh, Again, AI Foundry has content safety. It has a lot of safeguards around responsible AI. It's something that Microsoft is really pushing. So it's another thing to consider, right? That the type of data that you're handling, make sure that it's not exposed. They're not exposing any sensitive information, and be responsible of the potential impact as well, right? We want to make sure that we improve our processes, that they're a lot more efficient, but at the same time, we don't want to affect people in a negative way. So balancing the excitement with the should we actually do this? Is this a good solution to have?
100%. Sam, thank you so much. This has been really educational. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, David. Technology is much better with friends.